Welcome to your first math video. So from time to time I will give you a video link and I will be teaching you through a video. And so what I need you to do during these videos is to listen and follow the directions. Okay? So the learning objective today is, by the end of this video, you should be able to log into Canvas, which we've already done because you're watching this video, follow the directions on a video, and then have more information about how to solve a special math puzzle. I'll know you've got it when you have your name on your math folder and your spiral, and you show me the completed math puzzle. So some things to keep in mind. While you are listening to the video, you may pause the video anytime, and you should, especially if you need to write or copy important information. So as we move on to math items, there are going to be some times when you will need to write things down, and some people write faster than others. So this gives you an opportunity to pause the video and then write down the information. You need to make sure that your volume is not too loud so others can hear. So if I can hear it, I'm probably going to come and ask you to turn it down. And as always, we want to be respectful, responsible, and kind by doing what you should be doing, not what you see others doing, because they might be ahead or behind you or not following the directions themselves. So if you're listening to the video and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then that's what I want from you. You're going to be given instructions on what to do today. So I want you to listen to the instructions first, then you pause your video so you can complete the task, and I will tell you when to pause. And then when you've completed your task, come back and continue watching the video. You don't want to exit out because you don't want to lose your space and have to start all over again. Or because then if you try to fast forward, you might miss something. First thing, you were to have brought a folder that's just for math. So I need you to get this folder out. If you don't have one, then come and see me because I have extra ones, and I want you to all have a math folder. I want you to take your math folder to the side table. It's a big table. It's by the dry erase board, and there are labels there. And so I want you to write your name, your first and last name on the label. Write on the label first, and then peel it off and stick it onto your folder so that you know exactly which one is your math folder. You can get another sticker and write math on it, and stick that on your folder as well, so that if you have folders that are all the same kind and you already have your name on them, then now you have it labeled math. Okay? If you happen to use the last label on the sticker sheet, can you please throw that away? Okay? Don't just leave it on the table. Throw it away. When you're done, you're going to come back to the video. So right now, you should pause. All right. So you now have a math folder with your name on it and probably says math on it somewhere, so you know that's your math folder. You need to now get your math spiral. I asked you to bring a spiral. I know it wasn't on your supply list, so I've got some for those of you that needed one. They are on the counter under the windows. If you already have your math spiral, then you're also going to go to the counter by the windows and get a label over there. Do the same thing. You're going to write your name on a sticker. You're going to place the sticker on the front of your spiral, and again throw that sticker sheet away if it's the last one, and then you'll take your spiral back to your desk. Okay? Pause the video. All right, I want to remind you that you should always bring your spiral and your folder to math class. So we have been having an assignment the past couple days, and so keep your assignments in your folder. You can take them home, but then bring them back, and you always bring them to class. I also want you to know that I only want you to use the spiral for math. You should already have a composition notebook in social studies and science, and I'm not sure what you have in language arts, but I want you to use the spiral only for math. We're going to take lots of notes, and you're going to need most of those pages. All right, the next thing you're going to do is there is a stack of paper in front of the area where the mailboxes are, in front of the agenda board. Okay, so once we get moving on to math things, there will be actual papers in the mailbox. But for right now, I need you to get the paper in front of the mailboxes. So pause the video, get up, and go get it. Ready? Pause. Okay, so in front of you is a puzzle called a Ken-Ken puzzle. And if you know how to do a Ken-Ken puzzle, you can solve it and then bring it to me, and then I'll talk to you about what you can work on next. If you haven't solved a Ken-Ken puzzle and you have no idea what a Ken-Ken puzzle is, besides looking at all of these squares, I'm going to be clicking on this link and record the video right inside my own video. And then you're going to follow along with what the gentleman is saying. You still should be able to pause the video at any point, and you should be able to complete this video, or excuse me, this puzzle.
What you see in front of you now is a Ken-Ken, and it's called a 4x4 Ken-Ken because it has 4 rows and 4 columns. What I normally suggest that people do when they're starting out with Ken-Ken is to write the numbers 1 through 4, if you're doing a 4x4, on the top side or bottom. And that way you can look at the numbers and realize the relationships between them, and it just makes the whole thing a little bit easier. For those who are new to Ken-Ken, the first 2 rules are the same as Sudoku. In other words, if you look at this first row right here, as in any row, all 4 numbers have to show up, no repeats. And in each one of the columns, such as this one here, all four numbers have to show up with no repeats. So that's exactly the same as Sudoku. The third item, though, the third rule is where it gets different. Take a look at this area over here, where you have 2 squares, and they form what they call a cage, and you notice that you have a very large, thick line around here. Those 2 numbers, according to this scenario up here, have to add up to a total of 4. These 2 squares right here, those 2 numbers, have to have a difference of 2. So for instance, it could be the numbers 2 and 4, or it could be the numbers 3 and 1. But they can be also in either order. You don't have to have the larger number on the top. So that's basically what these symbols mean right here. This one, for instance, 2 numbers are going to multiply to give you 6. So let's go ahead and solve this Ken-Ken and learn some techniques as we go. First thing you want to look for is free ones. And free squares are things like this. That's a singleton, and the clue says 3. You've only got one choice. And if you try to fill in the rest of this row here, you notice that you've got a couple of problems. For instance, these 2 squares here have to divide to give you an answer of 2. So it could be 2 and 1, or it could be 4 and 2. But you don't know which combination. Not only that, you don't know in which order. So we're going to leave that for a while. We don't have enough information. Let's go to another cage over here. These 2 numbers have to add up to 4. And they can't both be 2s because that'd be a repeat. So it has to be either 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. And what I usually suggest people to do is that right along this borderline here, put the 2 numbers that are going to have to appear in the 2 squares. The only question is which goes where. And in our situation here, the number 1 has to go on the bottom because you can't have a 3 because that would duplicate the 3 on the other side. So what that means then is the 3 has to go up here. And then if we look at this column, we've got 1, 3, so therefore these two numbers here must be 2 and 4. And if you want to put a reminder here, you can put a small 2 and a small 4 here. We're just not sure at this point where they're going to go. If we look at this cage right in here, we said we want two numbers that have a difference of 3. And this is where this scenario up here really helps. If you want numbers to have a difference of 4, it's kind of like looking at a number line. You can see that those two digits right there, those two numbers, are separated by 3. So if we come back down here, we can write a number 1 in here, and we can write a number 4 in here, indicating that these two squares have to have those in common. Well, we're getting a lot of choices here, but not a lot of answers. So let's see if we can go a little further here. Let's go back down to here. And we know that these two numbers have to be 2 and 4. So I'm just going to write the 2 here and the 4 here. And now let's take a look at this box right over here. And if we look vertically up here, we see that there's a 1 and a 4 here, which means you cannot have another 4. Ergo, which is Latin for therefore, means that must be 2, which means the 4 has to go over here. And now we're making some real good progress. We already have one row completely done. So that looks awesome. That looks very cool. So let's try back over here. In this column we have a 2, a 1, and a 4, which means the only remaining number must be a 3. So that has to go up here, which means, of course, that this has to be a 2 because the product of these two, according to our code here, has to be 6. Continue over to the left here, and we realize that the two choices we have are 2 and 4, therefore, or with Latin, ergo, that must be a 4, and this must be the 2. And moving to the right here, 4, 3, 2, this one must be 1. Has to be that way because you have to have all 4 digits and no repeats, which means that these two right here must be the digits 2 and 4 in some order. And we're not sure exactly which one it's going to go, so we'll just see what happens. Well, let's come back over here and maybe we can make some progress on here. We need a 1 and a 3. Well, it turns out that you can't have the 3 here because that would duplicate the 3 over here. So the 3 we're missing has to go up here, which also brings another one of the puzzle tricks here, if you want to think of it that way. Take a look at all 4 3s, because that's the 4th 3 that came in there. And all 4 3s are in different rows and in different columns. So this is working out very well. Let's see if we can use that trick one more time. And what I'd like you to do is to look at the 2s. You have a 2 here, here, and here. So where does the last 2 have to go? Find a row and a column that do not have a 2. And if you look carefully, you'll find out that that last 2 has to go here, which means that this has to be either a 1 or a 4, because it has to divide to give you a 2. And by process of elimination, that has to be 1, which means that this one has to be 4. That one has to be 1. And the only remaining possibility is this must be 4. And you can take another quick look over here and make sure that everything is correct, and indeed it is. So we've now solved our first 4x4 Ken-Ken. Congratulations.
All right. You're going to bring that finished Ken-Ken puzzle to me, whether you followed along on the video or if you did it on your own, and then we can talk about what you can work on next. So just so you know, a lot of the movie stars or people on TV have like their little signature wave or something that they always do. And one thing that I will always do at the end of a video is to say, "Go Hawks!" Rah!